Okay, we're recording, so go.
We're lagging a little bit. Are we good now? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Good?
I'm recording, so just just start.
Well, for people who are just tuning in now, we did go live, but there was a big fuck up, and YouTube's been playing up all day, so we're having to do this. United have just lost 3-0 to Manchester. United just lost 3-0, sorry, to Manchester City. Chivy was just touching on the point that kind of lost faith a little bit in the manager. You know, you're gonna have to develop thick skin. What was your other points that you was gonna make? Sorry, just before.
No, I mean that's pretty much it. I was just saying, I would still hope that he can turn it around, but I don't expect anything from him anymore because this game in particular has shown me that he's just his decision making for some reason has just completely fallen off a cliff. And what worries me is that everyone else can see this apart from him. And I'm not supposed to, well, none of us are supposed to know any more than him, but he seems to be making really weird decisions,
Mm-mm.
taking Amrabat off and leave, and then moving. Yeah, I understand Scott McTominay is effective when he's playing further up the pitch, right? But we've seen that he's not really effective when you bring him back and expect him to then do a role where he's making passes and trying to locate players. That was a weird decision. If we've got a fit right back or a right back who can, sorry, left back who can play, I don't understand why Lindelof
Was
was
he
playing
fit for the
left
full?
back.
That's the question.
Sorry.
Was he fit for the full 90? That's the
I don't know.
question.
I don't know. But then why play Johnny Evans for the whole thing? Like he's gonna suffer. He's gonna struggle. So play Lindelof. It's just crazy. And then he brought on Martial and Anthony with 5 minutes to go. By that time, I'd mentally switched off. I don't get it. But yeah, you kind of get the point I was making. Yeah. To everyone who didn't catch on earlier, I was just saying that it reminded me of the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones where initially it was it was upbeat, it was cause of celebration, and then all of a sudden it's just blood everywhere. But yeah,
Yeah, and that was a 90-minute, whereas the segment in Game of Thrones Red Wedding, I don't know if it was as long, but that game felt much longer. Obviously, Sam, there's a lot of question marks around the manager, certain tactics, certain individuals, but when you look at the two squads before the game and you look at the team that we've put out, yes, some of the decisions that he made, you don't know what reasons are, you don't know if there's injuries or whatever. Maybe that'll come out after it, so I don't want to go too harsh on that. But the actual golfing class between the two, the players that were on the pitch, I mean, none of our players would. We joked about it on the preview. We said none of them players would get in City's team, not even close. Like they struggled to make the fucking bench, and I think that was evident today. Won it in just in the performance overall. Like I am worried about this team. Like a lot of times you've seen summer, don't you? Like you only need 3 players, you need 4 players, and we'll get there.
No,
I feel like we need a full fucking team.
now Ragnick said it. Didn't he, when he was here? Said it needs open heart surgery. It needs like 10, 11 players getting put in this team, plus whatever squad players you're gonna put in. It's the same play. Like Ten Hag is signing his own death warrant because he's continuing with the same players who'd let him down every fucking week. McTominay lets him down every fucking week. Rashford let him down every fucking week. Bruno lets him down every other week. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just he's continuing on with this, and he's wondering why he's not getting results. These are the same players that chucked Ollie under the bus. They're the same players that chucked Ragnick under the bus. They're the same players that chucked a couple of other managers before that under the bus. Like, this is what's going to happen, and until he learns that lesson, or he loses his job, that's going to be the way it goes. If we continue on with this, that's the way it's going to go. I don't want him to be fired. I want him to stay because he's the best manager available that we can get, and he's the only one that is available that I want. So he has to change the way he's selecting people, and he has to pick different players, and he's got to change something about tactics because tactically he got that completely wrong at halftime. First half, we were still in the game. We had moments. City were dominating, but we expected that, and we were still in it. Second half, he takes Amrabat off, and it just completely collapsed us. We just fell like a deck of cards once he took Amrabat off, and that was it. We just kind of, the game was fucked. So he's got to take blame for that, and he's also got to take blame for selecting the players that let him down every week, and then the players who are not performing and are not up to standard, they've got to take blame as well because they've not. Bruno at the end, the last 20 minutes of Bruno, I wanted to kill him. Honest to God, the amount of
So
whinging
petulant.
and kicking
Yeah.
off And honest God, I wanted to strangle the guy. So yeah, there's a lot wrong, and I'm just kind of ranting, and I apologise for doing so. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Can I just add something to that?
Yeah.
I don't believe that. So I completely agree that none of our players can get into his team. But at the same time, if we brought those players here, I don't think the manager would be able to do what Pep is doing with them. So if you look at players yeah, honestly, if Casemiro was playing under Pep, he would be saying the same thing. Oh, they're amazing, and if you have Casemiro, yeah.
When you look at the players they have in midfield, Rodri, Bernardo Silva, Foden, Julian Alvarez. We had Eriksen playing as a 6, McTominay playing as a 10, and fucking Amrabat, who's only just come to the club. Like it's
I think
miles apart. Miles
I
apart.
I agree, but that's because they have a manager that's improved them and allowing them to play, and has the tactical know-how to play them in positions where
And time, a lot of time with them as well. Don't
on
forget.
time. Yeah. So I completely I agree. I'm just saying, like, it's not as if it's not a player issue. So if for example we got Phil Foden this summer and we got Julian Alvarez, I don't see a difference. Like, it wouldn't have changed us in any way. It wasn't a personnel thing. It was a positional thing. We were out of sorts the whole game. Well, after 20 minutes.
I disagree. It is a personnel thing. The players aren't good enough. Rashford ain't good enough. He's a purple patch player. He has streaks where he's great, and then the rest of the time does nothing. Bruno, why as a captain? I didn't want him as captain, but I understand why he's picked him, because he's never injured and he's consistent. He's always playing. But I wouldn't have picked him personally. We said that. Me and Nick have said that. We both said like Lissandro or Casemiro or something like that. Not good enough. Scott McTominay, we wanted to sell him in the summer. We would look actively trying to get him out the door, and now he's supposed to be our saviour. Not good enough. Johnny Evans and Maguire. Maguire's done decently well for the last couple of games, but he's playing with a 35-year-old Johnny Evans against Haaland, Julian Alvarez. It's like, it ain't good enough. Like, it ain't, and we're playing Lindelof at left back, where we've got a fit left back on the bench. What are we doing?
Crazy.
Like, what are we
that
doing?
left-hand side of the game with Gvardiol, Bernardo Silva and Grealish was just terrorising us.
But do you think? But what I'm trying to say as well. So I agree. I think you guys have made some strong points. But do you think that the players that we have warrant a sort of result against City? Like, even if we're not as good as them,
I think that's the quality. I think honestly,
the gap is that big.
That's the quality.
What I'm saying is, yeah. So even if we have the players that we have, the gap shouldn't be that big. Like, we saw that in the first 20 minutes, and then as soon as
it should be that big. It is that big. That's how big the gap is.
That score line is where we're at the minute. It really is.
We could have Varane, Lissandro, and all of that in that defensive line. But until we change that midfield, it ain't getting better. That midfield is the problem. The midfield is the problem.
Until we change the way we play, is what I'm saying.
No, it's not about the way we play. It's about having the players to play the way he wants to play. He doesn't have the midfield. The midfield of McTominay, Eriksen, and Amrabat, or McTominay, Bruno, and Eriksen. You can't do the system he's trying to do with those players. You can't. Like, it's just not possible.
I disagree. We were out of sorts. We were literally City. It was literally a chess match. This wasn't about not having good enough. Yeah, well, that counts. Not having good enough players, but it was a chess match. Even if we had some of the best players, like, we were positionally out of sorts. So it, like, City, they found it so easy. Just take look at the right hand side. See how they double teamed on what's his name, on Dalot. It didn't matter who we had there.
Mate, they didn't even need to double team.
There was always a free man. When Erling Haaland got that header, he was free. There was no one around him.
The difference is though, McTominay doesn't track the man. Rodri does track the man. And that's the difference in quality, because he's got that scanning ability to be able to see that.
Bernardo Silva was walking through our fucking backline. Like, he just fucking strolled through. Like, there was no resistance whatsoever. It's just...
I think if you did a Freaky Friday thing and you swapped Eriksen, McTominay, and fucking Amrabat and put them in City's midfield, they wouldn't play nowhere near like they did today. Nowhere near.
They'd look awful. You saw what happened
miles apart, man.
When you took Rodri out of their midfield. They looked bad. They still looked all right, but you took their important player out and they looked bad. That's how important their midfield is. When you take one of their integral players out, we haven't got any of those players. We haven't got any of them.
So you're not. So this is not on the manager. This is on the players.
No, it's
That's what
on
you're saying.
both. It's on both the
I
manager
think it's
as well.
no, yeah, I think it's on both. I think it's
The
on
manager
both,
for taking Amrabat off, unless he was injured, that I don't know about.
I
I
think
don't
I
understand
think
that. That decision is stupid. I don't understand that decision.
I think
Taking
this
Højlund
falls.
off at 75
Yeah.
minutes was the only guy who was offering anything. Don't understand that. Left
I
back,
think I think
I
I
don't
think this
understand that.
falls. Yeah, the players have to blame, but this falls squarely on the manager's feet. Like we've been saying it for days now. Like he keeps blaming Bruno and Rashford. Like he's
yeah, on the
forcing this
wing
thing.
as well, like Bruno on the
Forcing this
wing, man.
thing. I really don't get it. And then Mason Mount came on, and there was absolutely no improvement. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to force this whole thing? Like, it doesn't. You talk about standards and upholding the standards of this club, but you're not doing it. I can't see it. I don't. Maybe he's doing it, and maybe I'm just naive, and I don't see it. Like you keep playing these guys, and they offer us nothing.
Also,
Change
why?
something like Fergie, because I remember when Fergie used to do this. I've been saying this. The Aston Villa game is a typical example when Makeda scored
Yeah,
that thing. Do you know who he took off? Fergie. He took off Rooney. He
Yeah.
took off Tevez.
yeah.
And brought on Makeda and Danny Welbeck. We'd never seen Makeda before. That was his. And Danny Welbeck was like, he was like, yo, if you're not playing, get the fuck off. Like, if you're not playing well, man. We don't see that with this guy. So, I said I wasn't going to raise my voice today. I was just going to, I've been drinking. So,
Don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't fucking blame you.
The big thing is with me, why fucking chase Mason Mount for so long and say he's such an important player and really, really push for him, and then don't start him in a game like today and haven't started him in the past 3 games? Why does Bruno Fernandes deserve an opportunity over Mason Mount? I don't understand it, especially on the wing as well, where Mount's more kind of accustomed to that. Like Bruno on that side, Gavadio was making him look so average, even in possession, out possession, everything. He couldn't get a tune out of him. So this experiment on the right, that's on the manager because he keeps playing him there. It's a continuous thing where every game, like, why is Bruno on the right? Why the fuck is he playing there? Why before the game did he say, it's tactics with the reason why Varane and Reguilon ain't playing? Is it, or is it the fact they're injured, or like what's going on here? Because it's a lot of confusion on the pitch, and also, for the past 5-6 years now, for as long as I can remember, every time we've played City, obviously apart from last season at Old Trafford, I know we beat him there. It's been a training exercise for him. I felt like I've said to my girlfriend,
never get out of second gear, did he?
I can't wait for this game to finish now. I'm just like, it's the third will go in a minute, second will go in now. Like, you just know what's going to happen. It's way too easy.
Do you know when, like, I think I described it in the chat, it's like getting beat by Usain Bolt, but he's fucking jogging. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's just jogging and he's still absolutely destroying you. That's the gap in
Do you
quality.
see that there was a moment in the game within, it was near the end of the game with Bernardo Silva and McTominay. McTominay was like chasing after him everywhere. And literally all Bernardo was doing little feints, little shimmies here and there and just getting away from him, and then he'd playing outside the foot pass. Like, the quality is fucking miles away.
Also,
miles away.
Was so predictable because Gary Neville literally said, he was just like, give it 2 minutes and Bruno's going to start whinging. He's going to crop someone, get a yellow card, and he's going to kick off. And he literally, within 2 minutes, that's what he did. We're so fucking predictable. Like, we do the same shit, play well for like 20 minutes, stay in the game, go in at half-time, either 0-0 or 1-0 down, come out the second half and just fucking chuck the game away. Every game, man. That's what we do.
There was warning signs up until the goal. You just knew what was going to happen. I want to touch on the goals just quickly. Just on the penalty, Chiv, what did you think at the time? What was your initial reaction?
Yeah, clear pen.
You think so? Yeah, nailed on. Do you think? Can I counter that with something? Do you think that gets given frequently enough, like in Premier League games? Because you see them challenges a lot in the box, don't you? And some get given, some don't. Like, there is kind of inconsistency.
Yeah, some get given, some don't. But that was clear. Like he clearly impeded him. Like so when they're not given, sometimes you see like the player goes down too easy. But you could see there was some bit of resistance from Rodri. Like he actually wanted to go until he was pulled properly. So I understand, but I've seen those given lots of times. If it was the other way around, like if it happened to United, I'll be tearing my head off. Like, why wasn't that given? Like that was a pen.
Yeah, I thought it was soft personally. Sam, what was your take on that?
I just want consistency. Like, if that's gonna be a pen all day, every day, make sure every time it happens, it's a penalty. Because Højlund had it in Arsenal. He got basically wrestled to the floor by Saliba. not given.
Yeah.
So just be consistent with it. If it's going to be a pen, fucking give it a pen. Or accept that it's part of the game and they jostle and they hold each other. Pick one. Because I don't know anymore. I don't know what foul is anymore. I don't know what handball is anymore. I don't know what the offside is anymore. I don't know what the rules are anymore because it just changes game to game to game. And VAR, again, making an issue out of this when it should just be clear and obvious of what is a foul, what's not foul.
Yeah.
Is it a foul? Cool, like we give it a foul. Why is it different each game? That's
I
what
agree.
annoys me.
I agree it's a foul. Like, you look at it and it's like, yeah, it's kind of dragged him down a bit. I agree with that. But like you said, well, sometimes it isn't given and sometimes it is. So you can understand why fans would be annoyed because like, well, I've seen that happen numerous times before and it never get given. So there's rightful anger in that regard. Before the second goal, which was the exact same pattern which we nearly conceded to a Haaland header, had Andre Onana not got to the ball. He made some unbelievable saves today. Like that one, especially from Haaland, was like, wow, pulled it out of the bag. But then equally, I remember the situation with Foden, I think it was, where he goes to claim the ball and he just kind of like, do you remember that where he makes a mistake? He just doesn't grab it and it goes back to him.
It, doesn't he?
Which I'm like, that's a bit strange. But what do you think make of his performance today, Chivy Onana? Was he better for you today?
Yeah, I think he was our best player, and I think that was the really positive that I could take from it because
Yeah,
finally we're starting to see him make saves, like gilt-edged saves, where a couple of games ago those were going in. The save from Haaland, like the header, I've been watching football for God knows how long. That's one of the best saves I've seen from a header.
Yeah.
Not just from headers. If you're talking about headers, that's probably one of the best I've seen because it was point blank. It was a power header, and Oliver Kahn said this. He said the hardest shots to stop are headers, like the hardest. And for him to be able to save that, maybe his positioning was, his positioning wasn't actually good. He had to literally dive to save that. So I give him props for that. I think that was one of the best saves I've seen from headers. But in general, yeah, he made quite a few saves. Quite a few. Grealish had one that was kind of curling. They had a couple of shots and he saved them because what we've seen from him this season is, every time a shot goes, you expect it to go in because he's been so poor. So I was actually quite pleased with that, and I think that was probably the only positive that I could take from this is that finally we're starting to see him look like a goalkeeper now.
Yeah, I actually thought, I don't know if you'd agree, Sam, I know we lost 3-0 and people will say, well, you're on about we conceded 3 goals. But Onana, Maguire and Evans, I actually don't think it was the worst thing in the world. I thought it was okay and they did the job for most parts. I think, again, it was midfielders kind of tracking the runners. Like, you saw that in the second goal. Dalot fucking miles up the pitch, like nowhere to be seen. McTominay's covering for him, doesn't track the overlapping runner. Bernardo Silva clips it to the back post and then Haaland scores and they get the second goal. Do you think it is the fundamental issue that's the midfield? That's where we're seriously lacking at the minute. Because I know we're not scoring goals, but the balance in that midfield, there's just nowhere to be fucking seen, is it?
Yeah, like the defense. Like I think Onana stopped it from being an embarrassment. Like it's still an embarrassing performance, but scoreline wise, he stopped it from being 5-6. Like they could have easily got another 3 if Onana doesn't pull those saves out. So I think he deserves credit for that. And you can't like Johnny Evans and Maguire, like they did fine. Like, do you know what I mean?
Their
like,
level is my point.
You know
like
what I mean?
they was
like
they weren't the worst
what do you want him to do? Like, honest to God, like what do you want him to do? Like it's like playing geriatrics at back. Like it is what it is. And then I don't understand playing Lindelof at left back when we got fit left back on the bench. Like if he's on the bench, it means he's fit enough to play. So he's on the bench. So I don't understand why he's not playing. So that's a weird decision to play 3 centre backs at the back and you're still getting dominated in the box. That's a weird thing to be doing. And then midfield is just it's all over the place, man. Because Scott McTominay obviously wants to play further forward. That's what he wants to do. He wants to score and he wants to play further forward. And then we took Amrabat off at half time, and we said to Scott McTominay to play at the 6. But every time I looked at us in out of possession, he's up the pitch and Eriksen's in the 6. And we know what Eriksen's qualities are. Eriksen's qualities are passing the ball, being up front and stuff. And he's defending and trying to keep a hold of that midfield as a 6.
Just playing triangles around him.
Like he's not.
That's all he was doing.
Like, he's a shit player. That's not what he does. Like, he's not a 6. And Scott McTominay barely is, but he's probably got a few more qualities than Eriksen in
We've
that
got
position. Like,
Scott, Bruno, Mount, and Eriksen, who are all effectively 10s.
yeah.
And seem to play in the midfield consistently, and it just
And then,
doesn't make sense.
like, obviously, Kobe Mainoo's been sort of groomed for that position, but you can't chuck a kid in to his first game getting hammered by City. Like, it's just not the way. Obviously, Casemiro's is unavailable, but he's not been great either. I don't think he would have been any better in this game, if I'm honest with you. So that midfield needs sorting out. That I said at the beginning, when we bought Mount, I didn't understand the purchase. I didn't know why we bought him, because we've got Eriksen and Bruno playing that 10 area. At the time we had 3 right wingers. So I was like, why have we bought this guy? He's not going to play in an 8. He's not going to play in a 6. I don't get the purchase of it. Like, I really don't. Like, I think we were crying out for like an Amrabat type player, but who could also cover Casemiro's position.
Young.
Something like that. Yeah, something
young,
around those lines. And we didn't do it. We went for Mount. So it's a baffling decision for me. Like, I'm not slagging Mount off. I don't think he's but it was just a weird transfer for me, that one.
Chive, I'll touch on the midfield in a second, but I want to go back to Johnny Evans thing because you were shaking your head a little bit. Do you want to just touch on that a sec?
No, I think I don't know, you guys were kind of implying that they were kind of decent, and I didn't think so. Well, I didn't think Johnny Evans was decent, because there were so many times when the ball was just played. He just looked lost, really. I mean, he didn't make any clangers or anything, but he just looked lost. He was just a shadow, basically, that they were just playing around so many times. I could see it, like.
It sums up the state of our club, doesn't it? It sums up, like, we've got Johnny Evans playing as centre-back pairing. What did City do in the summer? They went and bought Guardiola.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just one of those things where, but I can't be harsh on him because he's, at the age that he's in, and playing against that front 5 that they had. I mean, you don't expect too much from him, but I just don't think he was decent in any way. I think they just easily played around him, and he wasn't mobile enough to spot. He wasn't mobile enough to chase. Couldn't spot the runs. Position. I was just watching the positions the whole time, and it was just gaps everywhere, easily. And then, the City have this thing where they double up in attack, and then it's insane. And what happens is that we get sucked in. So when Haaland, the goal Haaland scored, they probably run that play like 3 times.
Yeah.
And we're not even hip enough to, because even before the goal went in, I could see it clearly, because there was just a massive gap on the left-hand side. And I was just like, yeah, no one's picking this guy up. And yeah, that's what happened, But,
well, we kind of predicted it in the preview, if we're being honest, didn't we? We said it, like, I expected it to be a big. I think I said 4-5-0, and it could have been easily that today, the way it went. It's the reality of the situation, unfortunately, where we're at the moment. And after the game, don't get me wrong, I'm pissed off that we lost to Man City, absolutely. But it wasn't like I was shocked. Like, now we've lost, I think, the first 5 out of 10 Premier League games, which is like a stat in itself. This is the $1 million question. It's a question for both of you, but what do we have to start doing now to get results? What changes need to be made? Are you calling for the manager at all? Just run through that with me a bit if you can.
I'm calling for the manager to have a different approach, because what's the definition of insanity? Is that doing the same thing over and over or something like that? Yeah. So I'm not calling for him to be sacked. I just want to see a change. I think we need to stick with him for now, right? But he needs to change his approach, because whatever he's doing is clearly not working, and it's clear for everyone to see. We're probably one of the easiest teams to play against, to be honest. Probably one of the easiest. So I just want to see some change. I want to see him show belief in some other players, because what he's telling us now is that he has this set of his favorite players that he believes in, and everyone else, he has no belief in them. Now, whether or not, I understand managers have, a style of play that they want to implement with a certain group of players, but you need to bring everyone in. He keeps talking about the dressing room being united. I don't think it is. I really don't think he is. So he needs to bring everyone in. We need to see Garnacho one more frequently or starting or whatever, you know. Just need to see some kind of change implemented because I remember when we did the preview and we're saying expected lineups, and I was like, he's probably going to go for the same thing he did with Copenhagen, and it was kind of close, like in terms of no. And I didn't want to see Scott McTominay, but it was like, yeah, it's one of them ones, and it's just I'm just so deflated now because the only thing that keeps me going sometimes is belief in the coach and the manager, and like clearly
Starting to lose that.
yeah, and I'm starting to lose that belief because, and not that I want to, and not that it's just I don't. He's not giving me anything to hold on to.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Now I think sacking him will be the wrong decision because sometimes you just have to ride it out with these people and hope that they learn from their mistakes, and that's my plea to this guy. Please just learn from the mistakes. Just go back to the drawing board. You've done it before when we lost to Brentford and whatever the last season. Go back to the drawing board and implement changes and show some belief in your other players and your fringe players.
Sam, with the quality of individual personnel, let's say that we have, what's the maximum we can get out of the season? Do you think? If everyone's available, let's say.
I don't think we finish in the Champions League places. Like we don't.
No.
We're not doing that.
Yeah. I think we can all agree with that.
I don't.
That's nailed on already.
Yeah. I don't see us winning a trophy. To be honest, I can't see us winning a trophy
Newcastle
the way
next
we're going.
on Tuesday.
Like, yeah, that's probably not going to go well. Like if we get out of this Champions League group, which again I still doubt, there's going to be better teams out of that who are just going to absolutely maul us. So that, and then the FA Cup, we're going to go up against somebody like a Brighton, or we're going to get somebody like that, and they're just going to destroy us. So it's like I don't see anything this season. I don't think the manager should be sacked. Like I don't want him sacked because one, who's out there you could replace him with?
Yeah.
Nobody. Like literally no one that you could replace him with. Who the fuck would want to come as well? Like to be honest with you, like do you know what I mean? Like if say you wanted to replace him with De Zerbi, he ain't gonna want to come to this shit show. He's not gonna want to do him to there. So it's just like, what's the point? And then secondly, I think Chivy's right. He needs to change some things. People need to be dropped. I've been saying it for weeks. Rashford's got 375k a week contract, new contract, and he's playing like he's fucking made it and not doing anything with it. Bruno as a captain needs to be better than that. Absolute disgrace towards the end of that game. Like he needs to be dropped.
Season, man.
Yeah, but it needs to be dropped. Like these players need to be shown. Like if you ain't performing, you need to be fucking. You can go sit on the bench for 4 games. Like we're not having it. Play Garnacho, play Kobe Mainoo, play Hannibal. They've all shown way more than any of these fuckers who are playing at the minute. So he needs to change that, and then tactically he needs to work something out because whatever he's trying to do, this best transitional team in the world. We've either A, not got the midfield to do it and the quality to do it, or B, the players ain't buying into it. It's one of the two. One of those two is happening, so he needs to change his approach. And if he doesn't, and it continues on like this, I don't want to see him sacked. I'm not calling for it, but I could well see him gone before Christmas if he carries on with this stuff because they will let him go.
He needs to be answerable to someone, and I get the sense that John Mata and Richard Arnold just carry on, whatever football thing, just you handle that. Like he's not answerable to anyone.
He's picking transfers as well. Like he shouldn't be picking every single transfer.
He needs to be answerable. So, for example, if Ragnick was still here, like they would have had like a proper bus stop, like in tonight. Like he'd probably be leaving Old Trafford like 12. Because he would be in like a proper boiler room meeting with Ragnick, questioning his decisions and stuff. So he needs to be answerable to someone, but I don't think he is. And I think when you give a manager sometimes full play, like full run of the manor, he whatever whatever role that you have, I mean, there has to be checks and balances. I mean, if you're not answering to anyone, you can easily just get lost in it.
I think he's swimming against a very strong current at the moment. I think he's been very fortunate in the past kind of 3 games, I want to say. against obviously the last 3 wins that we've had, because they weren't wins really. If you watch the game, we absolutely scraped it against. We said the bottom of the table fodder, and we knew this was going to happen. It's not like we're all shocked. We're obviously mega disappointed, but I don't know. I am losing faith a little bit. I also have sympathy at the same time, because I'm looking at the squad and I'm like, that ain't good enough to compete. That ain't good enough. It's not. It's with everything that's going on, and people will say you're giving him excuses or whatever. Like, I think the manager is culpable today. I'm not suggesting that he isn't, but I'm looking at it even before the game. I'm like, that ain't even a top 4 team. Like, the quality in certain positions. Hoyland's only just come into it. Rashford's so flaky. You never know what you're going to get out of him. Bruno does not work on the right hand side. The midfield was way imbalanced. Got 35-year-old Johnny Evans at the back. Dallows has his concerns defensively, and then Lindelof's at left back, and you've got a new goalkeeper as well. So I'm like, it just doesn't. There's no fluidity. There's no connection. There's no team. There's no team at all.
You know, I would let this result slide if, even if we got like 7 today, right? I would have let it slide if we could see something against Brentford, if we saw something against Sheffield, if we saw something against Copenhagen, Palace, those teams that were meant to be beaten quite easily and comfortably. If I saw something then I'll hold my hands up and be like, yeah, okay, the quality with City, like, there's a gulf, right? So it's normal. You expect to drop points against some of the big teams. But if we're playing that way against the smaller teams, and if there's all right, today there's a gulf between us and City. There wasn't a gulf against Sheffield. There was a gulf in personnel, but in terms of playing, there was no gulf there. We scraped the win against Brentford. No gulf there. Copenhagen, like, so if we're playing well then in those games, I'll completely understand. I'll be like, you know what, these guys are better. They can drum us all they want. But if we're losing then and then here, like,
Sam, with this group of players, do you think a manager could come in and do better?
No. Pep, like, you could get Pep the reins to this job. He isn't going to do any better. Like, you might get a bounce for a couple of games, similar to what Ollie did when he came in, when he went on that run. But long term, there's no manager who's going to come into this situation and improve this. There's so many things wrong, just even football-wise, like within the team, playing style and stuff. There's so many things that are wrong that needs sorting out. And then you've got all the stuff behind the scenes with the takeover and recruitment and what have you that needs sorting out as well. The whole club's just a mess. So any manager coming into this is going to suffer and not be able to get some sort of like tune out of this team, because Pep's used to coming into teams and clubs where whatever player he wants or however much he wants to spend, he gets it.
And City were a winning team, don't forget, as well, when he came
exactly
into it, really.
And he's not but he's never had to like struggle at a team, has he? He was Barcelona B team and Barcelona A, then he went to Bayern Munich, and then he's at City, so he's never had to struggle. Like, Jurgen Klopp could not come into this team and do anything, because as soon as he's tried to implement his like hard working, pressing, like fall on your shield type play, certain players would be like, I'm not performing for this guy, and they just kick the bucket in. People like McTominay, people like Rashford, people like Bruno, they just go, I'm not doing this shit, and he'd look like a bad manager then, and then he'd get fired. So there's just personnel needs to change on the pitch, personnel outside the boardroom, all that sort of stuff needs to change. There needs to be such a huge overhaul. And until that happens, no manager is going to succeed at Manchester United. It's just not going to happen.
The question I want to ask you, Chiver, as his signings that Eric Ten Hag brought in, have they been good enough?
All his signings or just this season?
Yeah, just if you just want to focus on this season in general, the personnel that he's brought in, have they done good enough for you?
Yeah, I think they have. Not all of them, but he's brought on Lisandro, Casemiro,
Onana,
Anthony,
Hoyland, Eriksen,
Malacia. I think they've done enough. Look, this guy, I think Ten Hag has a line of credit, right, from his performances last season. He's established some credit in the bank, and I think we need to show some support, or we need to just show support, but we need to just hang in there with him for now and give him the the opportunity to change things. But like Anthony has been terrible this season, especially.
Shocking.
Yeah, he wasn't that good last season, but he managed to score goals, so that
He
was
had
great.
moments though, like Barcelona
He had
was a
moments,
moment.
yeah, and he
Yeah,
managed to
like
score goals. That was great. And there were times when, and I noticed that whenever he came on as a sub, he always made a difference. Like even
yeah,
in the World Cup when he came on for Brazil, he would just liven
yeah.
things up. But he's been bad. Mason Mount has been bad, really bad.
Casemiro's been bad this season. Terrible.
This season Castle has been bad, but also with Cass, I think it's like I said before. I think it's this new style of play that we're trying to do. Is it doesn't favor Cass. I don't think so. But he's been terrible on his own as well. But in general, I think they've been. I think we can say it's been quite decent so far. The only thing is it's not like his signings have been bad. Everybody has been bad this season. So this is
It's a group
yeah. So
collective
the
kind of
whole
thing.
group, yeah, the whole group has been actually bad. So we can't really single out his players and be like, no,
So
because we
let's.
saw a change. I remember what it felt like last season. I remember there was a real change. Like it felt like, yeah,
Yeah,
finally, it's
But this
different
is
now.
this was my point. Like the players, like remember under Ollie, he rejuvenated the team. We went on this run, and you think, oh, finally, I've got a team I like. I like this player, blah, blah. And then they've chucked him under the bus. It's the same. Like there's a lot of the same players there. Rashford, Bruno, like McTominay. It's the same people, and they're gonna do the same to this manager, and it's just gonna continue on until you have a complete overhaul of this squad and sort of really properly like microscope look at it and look at these players and are they good enough and are they consistent enough? Because I think a lot of them aren't. I think a lot of them are good in patches and games, but I think over a season and over like a long period of time, I think a lot of them aren't good enough and shouldn't be at the club.
agreed. I want to leave you with a quote that Tanag said, which is very interesting. He said, "The penalty changed the game. I don't have a comment on it. I don't have a comment." That's what his thoughts on the game. He said the penalty changed it, but
He also
I don't
said,
necessarily.
I've just seen a quote there saying, we need to forget this and get ready for Wednesday. It's like, how can you forget fucking Derby, mate? Shut the fuck up, man. Like,
Well,
oh,
the players
forget.
should be used to it by now. The amount of times we're
No.
Yeah.
fucking lost in it.
Got
So it's just
dick.
a usual feeling for him here. Yeah. Look,
Well,
obviously we play. Go on, Trevor.
there was a moment in the 60th minute. I was watching. There was like 59 60th when City went full flow, and Guardiola was on the side, like marshalling the whole thing, and the camera cut to Ten Hag, and he's just sat there next to Van der Gaag, just watching. just, and I'm like, man, and I'm saying to him, maybe he went there to have a better look at the game or whatever, but I was just saying to him, like, your players need you. Like, they clearly don't have any direction, don't know what to do, and you're sat there, like, calm down and, or if you must, calm down with your assistant if you want to have a chat with him about what's going on.
Yeah.
Both of you calm down, like, scream at these guys, like, but yeah.
A very, very disappointing performance for Manchester United in a derby that means a lot to the fans. He's lost his first 5 out of 10 Premier League games, which is just an horrific start. We've got multiple issues at the club, and the fire keeps burning. Well, it feels like it's burning us down and Old Trafford with it. Yeah, we play Newcastle, like I said, on Wednesday, so we will have the preview for that. It could be tomorrow or Tuesday, not sure yet, but we will have a preview for that. We'll have a new show tomorrow as well, so make sure you tune in for that. Drop us a follow on socials if you haven't done already. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave an opinion for us, whether it's controversial, whatever it is, about the game in itself and what you thought about it. Big thank you to Sam and Chivy for coming on at such disappointing times, but that's what you've got to do, the good, the bad.
We're
I
used to it.
suppose.
We're used to it this
Yeah,
season.
yeah, like the players, I suppose. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Saddening, but yeah, we try and move on and see what the next game brings. See you guys in the next one.
Peace.